Good day. This is Black Agenda Report. I'm Margaret Kimberly. Delaney Hall is an immigration detention center, a jail, located in Newark, New Jersey. It's been the focal point of protest ever since it reopened last year, with detainee escapes, a hunger strike, and protests outside of the facility. Our guest is Clau O'Brien Moscoso, a Black Agenda Report contributor, member of the Black Alliance for Peace, and a community organizer. She joins us from New Jersey to discuss the actions at Delaney Hall and the Trump administration's mass deportation policies. Thanks for joining me, Clau.
Peace, Margaret. Thanks for having me.
Just what is it that people most need to know about Delaney Hall?
Yeah, well, several things. Right now, there is a almost 2-week hunger and labor strike with the participation of all detainees inside, an estimated 300. Now, while they all started on a hunger strike, some have gone to just a labor strike. Regardless, it is still a 100% participation on the part of the detainees inside, with support and coordination from the families on the outside and some of the community organizations that have come out in the past 2 weeks and really have been out since the reopening of Delaney last year and even before that, right? So that is what's happening. This is also coming in a backdrop of the death of Jean Wilson Brutus, a Haitian migrant back in December of last year, who was taken to University Hospital and pronounced dead there. But, we see this obviously as a very blatant murder on the part of not just ICE and not just the state of New Jersey, but Geo Group as well, right? This is a privately owned and run detention center in Newark, New Jersey. We're in like less than a month, the final, or maybe a little bit over a month now, the final of the World Cup is going to take place 15 minutes away from Delaney Hall, where, a literal concentration camp where torture is happening, right? These, so the strikers the detainees that are striking are striking over the horrendous conditions there, right? They get spoiled and rotten food with maggots in them. As a retaliation of this strike, they've now been suspended all visitation rights. Some of the strike leaders have been transferred to other detention centers nearby, one of them being the Elizabeth Detention Center. And so, in the backdrop of all of this, especially the final of the World Cup, which is set to make billions of dollars, right, is happening, right? Not unlike October 7th and that rave that happened next to a literal concentration camp. So I think, we can see some of the connections, not just with Palestine, right, but with so many other things that are happening. For example, IT. I mean, just thinking about John Wilson Brutus, right? Like the conditions that he felt he had to escape Haiti to come to the U.S., right? The very same country that is keeping Haiti and has kept Haiti, under the imperial boot. And, with armed paramilitary groups that have rendered a lot of parts of Port-au-Prince, really unlivable. And, obviously readers and viewers can sort of check out Black Agenda Report on Jemima Pierre's work on Haiti. But for so many reasons, right, this World Cup needs to be boycotted, and one of them being this Delaney Hall.
Yes, thank you. Black Agenda Report has done, if I may be so bold as to say, led the way in reporting on Haiti and the U.S. policies there that have devastated that country, including immigration policy. Delaney Hall has been, as I was saying, this flashpoint for protest. Elected officials have protested there. Last year, there was a member of Congress was charged with obstructing justice because I think she brushed against an ICE officer who apparently are very frail, and has been charged with assaulting him. The mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, members of Congress, one of the senators from New Jersey, Senator Kim, who was pepper sprayed along with others. The Governor Sherrill, she tried to visit and was told she could not see any of the detainees and see their conditions for herself. We have to give credit. The members of Congress apparently can be given access, although they limit it. Of course, they can't just walk in and visit, which should be the case. So this is tied to the conditions at Delaney Hall and elsewhere around the country. And as you point out, it's privately a private corporation runs Delaney Hall, which runs these corporations run most of the detention centers. And I want to add, this was before Trump. These abuses did not all begin with him. This is continuity in immigration policy, the most punitive measures. But we see at this moment very questionable practices, illegal. Judges order people released and they aren't released. And Trump and his team are very open about mass deportation, very open about saying they specifically want to restrict immigration from global South countries. Talk to us about these issues, which specifically relate to the Trump administration, some of which specifically relate to this administration.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you sort of lay out a really great context. And I also want to encourage folks to listen to your interview with Abe Paulus from Black Lions for Just Immigration, a really great comrade of mine, who, just always with the facts. But this has been going on since the foundation of this genocidal, racist, apartheid regime, coming up on its 250th anniversary, right? So interesting. And in a lot of ways, I think that, immigration is one of the internal parts of imperialism, right? Like, it's a cause and effect. Like, of course, if you are consistently invading other countries, sanctioning them, making life quite literally unlivable, right? Through paramilitary groups, whether it's like that in Haiti or Ecuador or increasingly the rest of Latin America, right? Sanctioning, Cuba or Venezuela, right? Or Nicaragua. Just all of the stressors that the U.S. puts on the global South that force migration, of course, right? And so here, within the belly of the beast, folks that are coming from colonial countries are now then also targeted by ICE, right? ICE, again, I really encourage folks to listen to that episode with Abe, right? Like ICE and the Safe Patrols, the founding of them were like not very separate, right? It's very, very similar in a lot of ways. And, especially in the New York area, a lot of this is very much an African issue because a lot of the detainees are African migrants, right? Whether from the continent or from throughout the rest of the world, right? Like it's Haitians that are getting caught up. It's folks from the continent. It's Afro-Venezuelans, right? So that's one thing I kind of wanted to like quickly dispel. But also, it's not a surprise to me that there's a coup in Peru in 2022. And in the last couple of years, migration from Peru has spiked in this region. And that's who represent many of the detainees inside Delaney Hall, right? Haitian migrants, Ecuadorian migrants, right? Like there's a cause and effect to global foreign policy, right, and then internal policy with migration. So it's kind of what we might consider the consequences of full spectrum domination, or at least like war of that, right? So you have folks on the inside that have been striking, and again, that really is their main demand, is the full liberation of all of them, starting with youth, elders, folks that have health issues, um, obviously better conditions as they are all waiting to be released, but ultimately is the full liberation of all of them. And yeah, I mean, what's also really inspiring, I think, is this Friday actually is going to be the 1 year anniversary of the last breakout from Delaney Hall, right? And so members of our organization, our Citywide Alliance, are going to be, along with our comrades at Community Movement Builders, Newark, and a few other orgs, are writing up sort of like a statement of solidarity and sort of positioning their struggle along a broader set of struggles, right? Like not just last year's breakout from Delaney Hall, but making the connection to Wally Bay, who, folks from Newark might know that recently, I'm not exactly sure when, but earlier in the year, a Black man killed by Newark PD. I'm certain that the comrades at Community Movement Builders Newark have a statement with BAP NYC, so folks can, hopefully check that out. Making the connection to the World Cup and how folks that are organizing around the boycott are raising their labor and hunger strike as a reason, and one of the many crimes against humanity that the U.S. has committed and is committing, and why it is unfit to host the beautiful game, right? And we should not allow the U.S. to sort of sports wash its many crimes, and for multiple reasons, right? That I think that this strike is sort of like a flashpoint in a lot of things that are coming up around not just this particular area, right? But I think in this moment in time of, a declining empire, but that's still very dangerous and lashing out.
You've been present during some of these protests. There have been arrests made. Talk to us about the protests and the police action, the police response.
Yeah, so I've been there mostly during the day when it's not as active and intense, but still nonetheless, right? There's, I was there maybe like 3 or 4 times now. The last time I went there with another comrade of ours, and we this was during the day, and they had already kind of made, and I think this is Governor Sherrill's portion of it, right? Like they designated free speech zones, right? So like you can sort of yell at the pigs here, but it was away from the entrance and exit to the detention center, which is where people want to sort of blockade, because they want to make sure that their family members aren't being taken away to other detention centers where it's less accessible to them, for example, right? Or where they're trying to take them away or even just deport them entirely, right? So the fact that, there's these like free speech zones, a little awkward, but okay. But anytime that there is a car that's moving in and out, protesters sort of try to, descend on that and try to make sure like, hey, who's in there, right? Like show us who's back there. So this was not Newark PD, but ICE and GEO that were kind of pushing the protesters out onto the street. So this part of where Delaney Hall is, I forget the name of the street. It's basic. This is like a very industrial part of Newark. It's like very near the Meadowlands, kind of swampy areas of Jersey where there's like a bunch of different highways that are intersecting, right? So they're pushing people out onto oncoming traffic that's coming off of a highway. So it's just a bunch of like trucks, buses, right? At one point, folks can check out my like social media, but you can like hear me yelling out like, "You're pushing us onto incoming traffic. Like you're gonna get us killed." So they've been very reactive. Then also, you got Newark PD intervening on their behalf, and then New Jersey state troopers, which, as Sister Asada can testify to, are some of the worst pigs out there. So you got a confluence of just very militarized and like geared up goons that are, one, sort of protecting not just Delaney Hall and the their ability to like cage our people, but then also they have like military tanks, and they're kind of protecting their toys too, right? Like, and actually we can thank Obama for that, right? 1033 flooded Newark PD and local jurisdictions with militarized weaponry and tanks, and so then come Ferguson, you see all of these it's a war out here, but that's what we've been saying, it's a war out here.
And there have been reports that some of those arrested at these actions, those who've been arrested by the New Jersey State Police, have gotten calls from the FBI, which is an indicator of the depth of commitment of this oppression. Tell us what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, not surprised at all. I think you actually broke the story to me when we were on the phone yesterday. But it's not surprising whatsoever. There had already been multiple vans stationed near the sort of camp grounds that some of the family members and community organizations had sort of set up, that had the day before been like tear gassed by Newark PD and the ICE goons. So a lot of the like, and community members have been dropping off like food or, diapers for babies. Because I mean, there's high school students that are detained inside that are on strike right now, right? Like there's parents that are inside and the sole providers of their babies, right? And have been in there for months. And as I mentioned before, as retaliation, have now had their visitation rights, trampled and cut until they end the strike, which again, I think they are not going to until they are released. But so that has been happening. But I think it's been really beautiful to see, right, the level of commitment from community groups in the area, right? Some of the like ICE Watch and Migra Watch people in some of the organizations. What is it? Resistencia en Acción, Cosecha, New Jersey. As I mentioned, BAP comrades have been out there. CMB folks have been out there. What is it? Pax Christi, and the Quakers, gotta love the good old Quakers, have been out there and just, as much as possible providing support for people that are coming out, because people are coming out, right? So as they're like coming out of the cages and reuniting with their families, right? They're given food, water. Sometimes there's like legal help there if they don't already have a lawyer, medical help if they need it, especially if they were participating in the hunger strike. So it's been really lovely to see that. But even, since the strike started and the sort of accompanying vigil outside has been occurring, there's been vans that have been jamming up the signals around there. So I was not at all surprised that, of course, some of the FBI is like coming and knocking on some folks' doors, right? Certainly, as much as possible when I go there, I try to be cautious and maybe not always bring my phone, for example, right? And just have like a burner on me, or just my camera equipment and not, but yeah, it's it's like that now. And I mean, it's been like this for a while, but it's even more so out in the open.
You mentioned the World Cup of soccer, football, it's called in the rest of the world. The fact that we don't even give it the right name is one indication of why the event should not be held in the United States. But you mentioned that one of the venues, it's called MetLife Stadium. They've changed the name for the World Cup. What is it being called? New York, New Jersey Stadium, I think. And we have seen, while the matches have not yet begun, we've started to see why the U.S. should never have been the host of the World Cup. We have seen teams being searched. We've seen officials people who had visas to enter the United States being turned away. An official from Somalia, one of the referee was turned away. The Iraqi team's photographer was sent away. One of their players was detained for many hours and interrogated. The Iranian team can't even stay in the United States. They have to stay in Mexico and fly in for their matches and fly back out, which is a violation of the association hosting the World Cup, a violation of their rules. Of course, by being in the United States, in the country, and that's what we've been talking about, violations of human rights of immigrants and other people. So we see a connection. Delaney Hall is near one of the, I believe the final match is going to be played at that stadium. Talk to us about the World Cup and the problems, immigration enforcement being just one of them, and the problem with the U.S. being the host at all.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. They don't even call it the right name, right? What's Robert Wilson calls soccer the slave name. It's football, and then what USians know football as is really American rugby, which makes all the sense, right? I mean, this is a beautiful game. I literally, since I've been able to like kick a ball, have been watching the World Cup, and I, grew up in Lima, in the Borders Barrio in Lima, like where, kicking a ball around is just part of daily life. I used to be a goalie in middle school. Like, it's just part of life, and especially the World Cup. It's, you have your team and you're just like rooted, like, it's just the best time of every 4 years. But as the US tends to do, ruins everything. And I think so the World Cup boycott, which again started out as kind of like a move the games campaign, now on in phase 2 is a boycott the World Cup and boycott the US, right? What we are hoping beyond just the World Cup and the games this month and next month is to really lay the foundation for BDS, a proper BDS movement against the US, right? For these crimes against humanity, for a live stream genocide, for a war with Iran, for attacks on Cuba and Venezuela, Bolivia, Peru, you name it, right? Really actually confront what is the primary contradiction in our times. And the World Cup and football is one avenue, or one mechanism, right? Like literally the eyes of the world are on these games, so why not make the most of it, right? And I mean, I've been talking about it with our comrades all year. But this is the best time to be a revolutionary. It's just heightening all the contradictions at the moment, right? And making all of these connections with Haiti and boycott the games, with Peru and Bolivia and boycott the games, with Palestine, boycott the games, right? Like, it just makes sense how this lawless rogue state that can boast about, extrajudicial killings in the Caribbean, about drones striking Lebanon and allowing its Zionist colonial outpost in West Asia to just wreak havoc on the region, right? How another genocide, not just in Palestine, but now also Lebanon, is being allowed to carry through. Like, all of these reasons that we've talked about, and Black Gender Report has been one of the many, and in my humble opinion, consequential outlets to expose all of these things. But why it is time to it is our duty as revolutionaries to engage in this campaign and really put it to the eyes of the world, like, this is not a safe place, right? And make the connections with the movements and struggles of the global South to the internal colonies in the global North. Again, that's why we call it the North-South Project for People-Centered Human Rights, because we link up these struggles, right, cross borders, transnationally, to say this is the same struggle, and we need to be, in communication and actually coordinating. So one of the ways we're doing that is through the Anti-Fascist Football Coalition, that has about, now I think, 32 organizations, mostly throughout the West, the host countries, the 3 host countries, but also in Iran and Gaza, organizations throughout the world, right? And we're moving this boycott. We're laying the groundwork for a broader BDS movement against the U.S. The World Cup makes billions of dollars, and it's not the masses of our people that are going to these games. Tickets are like 6,000, right? It's the global ruling elite and the upper echelons of the petit bourgeois. Our people are in bars. Our people are at fan fests. We should also be there and agitate them and recruiting them, right? But I'm also going to be watching the games because that's what I do.
Well, if as someone, as you said, just part of your culture, of course you would want to watch the most popular sport in the world. But our point is larger about the U.S. not being, why the U.S. should not be the host country, and these connections with immigration enforcement and the violations of people's human rights. As we close, tell us, you mentioned your social media. Tell folks where they can see your work about Delaney Hall or any other issue.
So folks can follow Black Agenda Report and Sovereign Media on all socials, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or X, etc. I'm also on all those platforms. You can look me up. I think I'm Michi Sachi Papas on Instagram, which is my cat's name. And then I think it's Claudia O86 on Twitter or X. I have been sort of tweeting a lot about, the Peru elections, which just happened, and it looks like leftist Roberto Sanchez is going to be winning, but we do have to wait until like mid-June when the official ONPE count. But it looks like we defeated Fujimori, which is great. And I've also been tweeting about stuff happening in Bolivia. Tomorrow, Bar Wednesday, I know this comes out on Friday, but so then this past Bar Wednesday, we released the second part of my interview with Evo Morales in a bar exclusive. Folks should watch out. And upcoming, we'll figure out the specifics of this, but hopefully a segment on the World Cup, politics, and football for this month that I'm very, very excited about.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me, Clau. That was Clau O'Brien Moscoso, a Black Agenda Report contributor and organizer, discussing immigration enforcement as seen at Delaney Hall, as seen at Delaney Hall Immigration Jail in Newark, New Jersey. Thank you for joining me, Clau.